Sunayana, for being here. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in again to our another edition of this podcast, Universal Thought Podcast. And we've done this for like, I think, 4 or 5 episodes already. And it's been fun. It's been fun. We're enjoying this. And we are having new guests with new insights and new topic to talk upon. And today we have Sunayana Yogi with us. So Sunayana, I know a little bit about you. Just tell me a little bit about when did you come to Australia, and you know, your academic journey, maybe a little bit on that.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, UTC family and Sahilji. So I came to Australia in 2014 as a student, and since then, I did study nursing for a little while, and then I moved to information technology. So that's how it has been, and currently I work for a corporate IT company where I'm learning and growing.
Yeah, great. So how has that journey been, that transformation? So normally we really want to touch upon this topic because all our previous guests as well. And one thing we've really noticed among a lot of international students is that transition, you know, and a lot of I would say friction. I suppose in trying to swiftly transform from a graduate in a certain course to being a professional in that same area. So how did you really so in regards to getting into the industry, was it tough or was it challenging in terms of your thought process as well? Were you like very confident after you graduated that I will definitely get a job, or was it a bit of a struggle? What was that journey like?
So this is the thing, I've always approached my career with confidence. When I chose that I would be in nursing industry, that was I was just a high school graduate that time, and there was more on like a family pressure where you have to be like, either you stay in Nepal and study medicine, or if you want to choose a foreign country, then you must choose something within the medical field. So that was the option that I was given, and so definitely I had to go for nursing. But then over the time, what I realized is my persona or like my interest were not aligned. So it was a rough patch, but I was confident that I'm definitely going to get something, even though I switch. So then I just moved to information systems, and I was really confident from day one since I joined to study. And for me, it was like, even though I'm a student, I'm definitely going to look for something in corporate world. So I started looking for it, and I also started working while I was studying. So I started working as a student in a corporate firm, and it was where I started growing.
Oh, so and did that also create the bridge between, maybe probably you made more networks in that industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, that was one of the main things. And I kind of understood how the industry runs, and like how you have to indulge yourself in that culture. Because coming from a nursing background, it's totally different.
Yes, I'm sure.
And for me, initially, it was more like, overwhelming. And it was more like, oh my God, I've got like 1,000 things to learn. I don't know this, I don't know that. I don't know what DNS means. I don't know what website means. I can see website, but I don't know how it works. Because at that time, I was also studying. I was very new. And when I started working, I had like lots of things to learn. So I would come home and I would study and have like plenty of assignments to cover. But then the good point was I was excited to study. That made me like more. For example, I had data mining, but then I was so excited that I can use this at work. So that kind of pushed me. Like while I was studying, I was enjoying, and then that automatically gave me more confidence. But initially, to get into the industry, all I believed on myself was I'm definitely going to get it, and I'm going to be raw and real when I go for any interviews. Because this is what it is. I will sit down and I'll just present myself as who I am. I am someone who has no clue about IT industry, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm going to put myself there and do whatever it needs to be there.
Yeah, basically you talk about, you know, what I can bring into this role.
Absolutely, and you bring confidence on the table. They see your willingness that whatever it takes, you are there to do. And I think that's what just separated me, because there must have been a lot of people with experience. Sure. Why me?
Yeah.
So then I think that was the answer to them.
No, a couple of things you said I think will be very relevant for a lot of people, I believe. Is one thing is you really enjoyed what you're doing, and you found you're not really comfortable with what you're doing, and maybe probably you didn't see your future there, and then you had that that switch, you said. Was it a difficult decision to make that switch? Or it was, right?
Very tough. Like, I wouldn't imagine, like, my family just reacted.
Exactly, that's one big factor, isn't it?
Very big factor. For months they didn't talk to me.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, my sisters were like, you are such a shame to them. That's how, and then it just kind of broke me into pieces. But then I was like, I'm just pulling it apart. Like, I can't just take on a belief system that they have, or a general, as in a Nepali society would have, or even in the Asian culture, they have like, oh, you have to stick to one thing and that's what represents you. You stick to what you say you were. Definitely you should. But that time it was more like, I was just a high school graduate. I was just like 18 when I came here. So I was in the phase where I was more like, okay, what I'm going to do. So they give me suggestion. I feel like, oh, that might be something that I might do. And I chose something that might be good in future. But then when I actually went and studied, and it just started to come out. And one of the things that I really want to stress about is, how people are like, you need to find what you want to do. When they for example, year 11 and 12, they have, in Nepal, it's so hard. Or I think even here, you have to choose, do you want to go to computers or commerce or
medical science?
Medicals? What do you want to do? And I just feel that question is not very great enough.
Not very great, yeah.
Like, there could be lots of opinion, but my opinion would be more on I think that person needs to have a little bit of experience or even a little bit of exposure. For example, on year 11 and 12, if these students were given just for example, someone, so I did science on my year 11 and 12. So if I had an exposure or a little bit of workshops on this is what happens in pharmaceuticals, medical, or in IT, I would have a bit of clue, on what's happening. So here you are just reading articles, looking at videos, and just have to decide what you want. I don't get it. I don't buy it. So, I have a teenager sister, the youngest one. She sees in year 12, and when she asks me the question, I just tell her, take your time. You don't have to rush. Do your year 12, and if you think that option 1 doesn't work, then option 2. Just go in the field. If you think that's not for you, take a couple of years. I did take mine as well, and I'm proud I did. There will always be people that will be commenting here and there. You can't go and shut people's mouth, can you? But what you can do is you can have a good self-talk. You can be firm on your decision, and you can respect yourself by honoring the step that you took. So that's what I did.
I mean, very interesting, because while I was listening to you, I can draw a lot of parallels in my life as well. So I'm an environmental science graduate in bachelor's, and I then did master's professional accounting here in Australia. I was teaching accounting, business, leadership management for 5 years. And then now I am in the education recruitment industry. So, and also another point, I think when you talked about how, probably guardians and family tells you, gives you a certain framework, if you like. This is how you conduct your educational career, for example. 12 and do your bachelor's in one of the popular courses, and, get a good job and whatever. My take, and we've discussed this on one of our previous podcasts as well, is, well, I think not all the time their intent is wrong. In most of the time, their intention is to really, see yourself in a very secured,
Absolutely.
space, if you like. And so therefore,
That's
the
why
culture also
yeah.
decides that, I believe, and culture drives that belief, and or maybe, makes it more firm. And that's what we get, right? And their intention is obviously to see us, like I said, secured.
Secure,
And,
yeah. Because they care about us and they love us. And for them, that's the best thing they have seen and brought up with. And definitely, which I totally get it. Like initially, even I was like a little bit mad, but then I was firm in my decision. But then after a few months, I just came to realize this is the thing they grew up with. So I started having empathy. And instead of just, running away and like, pushing myself not to talk to them, I started having the conversation and it went better. But yeah, even till now, like my sisters are, okay, when are you thinking to do your master's? And you should be doing your research degree. You shouldn't be sticking into one degree. You should be thinking about exploring
Have
more.
a doctor in front of your name or something.
That's how the family is. And I'm like,
well, I respect your opinion, but
I have my own way to do things. And absolutely, I respect, like you have to go there, do study, go to research, find something that you can give out to the community. Because at the end of the day, research is about going out and doing something and bringing something to the table. So that serves the whole community. But I am not in that stage yet. For example, like a lot of people take a huge pressure. Because that's how the education system is. You should be doing your master's. You should be doing your, research degree as soon as possible. Like it's a rush. Like people are running. For a few people, that like they are very passionate. And I think they do really want to do research, I'll be like, okay, go for it. But some people, like myself, I would rather have industry experience and I'll know what I'm doing, where I'm going, and then I would take a decision. Like same happened with, what I wanted to study. Would I go in medicine? Would I go in pharmaceuticals? Would I go in IT? Or would I go in aviation? Like taking that time, And also, things are shifting. People and our families, our friends are getting more supportive these days, which I'm really happy about. And thanks to all of you, you've been doing amazing. And let's continue doing that.
Surely. And I also believe that we have to educate them, I believe.
Absolutely.
And that has worked for me. My communication with my parents, for example, or people who would give me a certain blueprint, for example. And this is how you should conduct a successful life. This is what you should do to, have a successful life, according to that definition. It didn't take me long to realize that that blueprint doesn't work in today's world as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is so different. It's so dynamic. New jobs, information technology is going, crazy, gaga, and a lot of jobs have become obsolete. They don't, they're not, relevant
like
anymore.
Recently, if we talk about, all the cryptocurrency things that came up in Nepal, lots of youngsters these days are pouring over cryptocurrencies, and they are trying to learn something new and make something out of it. And then there comes this regulation where they can't. And after a few weeks, there's this like, okay, the crypto is coming out, which is a great news. But, we need to keep up. So to keep up in a community level, you should start learning. You should start saying that this blueprint doesn't work and you need to be open-minded and have a look and have a think. You don't have to go and act on it, but have a think, reflect, okay, where things are going. Because end of the day, the evolution theory also applies to us.
It does.
In terms of our, career progress and everything, we need to keep on moving. If anything that doesn't serve the purpose is going to fade away.
Sure. And it's a cliche, but the only thing that's constant is change, they say, right? I mean, that's what I always say. Sometimes you get to hear things like, oh, you've changed. I'm like, thank you. I think that's a compliment. Because we're bound to change. Evolution suggests that. And I was reading a book and how we've evolved from our ancestors to today, and how we've probably quickly evolved in last 100 years or so in terms of technology and all of that. And people who are born today, for example, the vision of the world is like completely different, I think. And I sometimes also like to have a chat with couple of days ago, my niece came over, and then we went to a park in the morning, and then I just sat down with her and had a chat. She's 8 years old, and then I wanted to understand how she thinks and all of that. And I immediately realized the way she looks at the world is so different from how we see it. And I believe, like I said, like you talked about, this blueprint or the societal pressure to do certain things to become successful, is not valid or relevant for everybody, because we all have different thought
and also
different
with
idea.
this success. We also need to be very mindful. There are people that are very ambitious. There are people that just want to do 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
There are people that just like to do whatever they're doing, like continue the family business or things like that. I have found, especially in my family and like friends, and also like hearing a lot of stories around. People just come and they're like, he could have done it far better. She could have done it far better, but then she's not doing it. Or like, I think if they did this, would have been much better. And it is so important to understand that sometimes success could be very individual.
Yes.
You could choose over, not taking that extra project, that brings extra thousands of dollars, but also takes your family time away, or your personal health time away, personal development time away, and you choose yourself over that. So I think having that empathy is also very important than just going and judging. If you are really concerned, I would just say go and talk to them if something's bothering you. For example, if I find something that's bothering, I would immediately call my friend. I'm like, this is what's happening. This is what I feel. What's your thing? And we talk about it, and I also get to listen to their perspective. And now I'm just in a clear head, because we do care about them. That's why we have those kind of feelings, you know, and those thoughts, which especially with your good friends and family is very important to communicate.
It is.
These things, if you don't resolve it, it's going to come up later in your career, health, everywhere. It's going to show up. So,
if you don't like really, they say nip it in the bud, as in like when the problem is just there in its very nascent stage, and you try to probably close your eyes to that problem, but I believe you can't see it, but the problem is still there, and it will grow, and sometimes it will go beyond, a point of return, like you can't really handle it. So it's really important to like have that communication. And I think you brought up empathy twice, and I love that word. I think to really understand, I believe the major problem of conflict is not having empathy with anybody. Take it from a political level to in a family level, or even in a couple. I believe in every relationship. I think empathy is that one core value or attribute to have in that relationship, which will really help that relationship grow and go a long distance, because then you are not immediately judging that person. You're first putting yourself in their shoes, and then probably making a certain decision. I believe that decision will be more informed, and it will really not disturb the fabric of that relationship too much. I mean, if that makes sense. But empathy is really, therefore I value a lot, and I think,
and we all should do.
Yeah, we all should.
Because that's end of the day, like you brought up relationships. Life equals relationship. End of the day. Relationship with yourself, relationship with your family, your spouse, your workmates. It's all about relationship.
It is.
So absolutely. Then if we don't put that such a strong attribute, or that's the foundation of it, then how are you going to have it? And your life is just going to be here and there, everywhere.
Sure.
And that's where the issues start.
No,
and
absolutely.
Then people have a lot of mental health issues, because that's where we are missing on. Imagine a lot of people that come to Sydney or Melbourne or other cities just to study. What happens to many of them is because they don't maintain that relationship with themselves, with their loved ones, with their workmates. So where are they going to express? Where's the self-expression?
Fear of feeling judged, I think. And I've done this small sample, whatever. I've got I speak to a lot of students, and I've talked about this, and maybe it's repeating, but I mean, I really want to have your take on this. Is I said, why don't you express? What is the reason? And I knew the reason. I mean, I was confident, or at least I had that idea that the reason is fear of feeling judged. I think that's one of the major reasons why people don't express.
Absolutely. That's one of the very, very, very big, I would say very big. The reason is, like, what I see is fear of being judged is, especially, like we talked about blueprint, here where we come to play. So we are brought up in such a way in like, we have to do certain things by certain age, or, oh, you are going overseas, these are the expectations. Especially, I really want to stress on, how people choose to come here as an students. They are not here to just work. That's what it's very important to understand.
Sure.
What parents or the families think, oh my God, you are in Australia, you saw Canada, or wherever you are, whichever part, they think automatically like, okay, how much money am I getting, or how much money are you sending off? How much is he able to make? How much assets they have, which is a wrong question.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
So immediately when someone, let's imagine a student, like, puts their journey forward, like, comes to Australia, they already have this baggage of expectations.
Sure.
I myself have been through this. A lot of my own relatives, they would come and they would all be like, okay, how much did she send? And my mom would be like, that's what she would be like, that's what they ask.
Yeah.
And my parents totally get that I'm here to study first, and I gotta study and be myself on my own and be independent. But majority, that's where the whole thing lies. Of course, there are a lot of things like generational traumas, your belief system, how you grew up. Because I've seen a lot of students, they're all about just go to work, do you like assignments, and do your work and save as much as you can. And all they want to do is like show their parents that they're worth something. But until when are you going to do that? Until when are you just going to rip yourself off apart and not experience that full student life that Australia or any other country has to offer, and just, keep on doing the thing just to fulfill somebody else's expectation. Of course, you love your family, your friends, and you want to do something for them, and you are like, oh, like, because we understand, like, it's very tough because many of us have loans while we come here. But the most important thing that you have to understand, even as a parent, you have to understand is first, our study comes here. And to study, effectively, to make most out of the student life is so important. Just only your academic qualification does not make you anywhere. So that is one of the core foundation of fear of judgment. 99% students. 1% will be only 1% of the students will be those that their families can support or afford completely. And they don't have to really rely on work or anything, or even like, send money overseas. But here, like, the students are already on the edge, struggling, and there's so much expectation. Their bond is kind of breaking. They can't, imagine you can't even talk to your parents. Who are you going to talk? And you'll have just handful of friends, and they are the same, in the same boat. And already when you are having too much on your plate, because your loved ones, when they don't support you, you are literally, your confidence goes down. So, and then your friends are also in that. So all the fear of judgment you have, and the energy you get also, you get the same thing. So how would you express yourself? You can't just go and like be like, oh, my parents said this to your friends.
No, you can't.
No, it takes that time, and on top of that, you are new to this place. You don't have already the friends that you're your best friends, or like really great friends that you can sit down and just open up with. No. So that is where the root problem
exactly
is.
I think therefore communication is really important. I mean, regardless of how they, and at the very beginning there will be a knee-jerk reaction to whatever you do, which is again out of that blueprint, if you like. They might be aggressive at at the very beginning as well. But I think you have to find the patience to educate them, because if you feel that they are the person who are accountable, or like you feel your accountability towards them, then you should really communicate with them.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got to consistently try, or else if it goes to a point where you feel like you cannot do it, you cannot like let your life go to ruins, you got to find another way to probably tell them, hey, well, I've tried to explain you, but this is how I see my life going forward, and I'm going to do this regardless of your consent. However, a little bit of a devil's advocate role I'm going to play regarding blueprints. I want to be very careful while I talk about, say, for example, forget the blueprint, society has made these rules and you break the rules and all of that. I don't want to go that extreme as well, because at times what happens is then again you will be probably all over the place.
You wouldn't have any clue what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. So maybe there are a few basics you could really do regardless of that. Is be sincere, to be devoted to what you're doing, whatever you're doing, right? Devotion is obviously society also says devote, but to probably a certain degree or certain course. But devotion is the key everywhere in any sort of area you work into. Being honest, for example, working with integrity, for example, right? And getting the task done, for example, right? Yeah. So I mean, these are the values you should carry regardless, but I believe you do not have to necessarily do it the way how your parents, for example, tell you to do. And I believe, yeah. I think sometimes just to shift the blame onto other people is also not the right way to.
Not the right way. Yeah. So in this case, what I see is absolutely that's very important. Shifting blame is one of the things people do a lot. They would be like, oh, my parents did, that's why I'm ignoring myself. Self-sabotaging, that's where it all starts. And when you self-sabotage, you just ignore everything. That's when you have fear of judgment, because the people are always having thoughts about you, and you are just thinking what they're thinking, overthinking. So importantly, especially for students who are already here or trying to come here, most important, have an honest conversation with your parents and tell them this is the situation for another few years. I might not be in a position where I can support you, but what I want you to understand is I will communicate, and I also expect that support. And I think what I love that UTC is already doing is educating a lot of students and parents. I think that is one of the key things that you have to do. I wish that at that stage, that when I went to a consultant and they told my parents the same thing. I wish I wouldn't have to go through many years of just separating from my parents and limiting. I had a huge fear of judgment, huge. And I nearly went to a stage of having mental breakdown and things. I was just I just felt like one time I was like, I don't even have a person to share my meal with. Because I don't I would call my family and eat meal. Now I don't even have that. That's where it's not only me, it represents numbers of students.
Yes, definitely. No, I mean, I think what you said is so very important, is getting that. And we talked about this in our previous episode as well, is regarding if only someone were there to bridge that communication gap, or at least even show us the larger picture. Is this is not the end of the world. Then that struggle period must have been shorter. But while I was thinking about that thing I said in one of the previous podcasts, and I thought about it again, I want to be very careful that I don't want to shift the blame, because you are an adult and you should be taking all of the responsibilities of your decision. But it's just that if you are in a position to guide someone, for example, then do not show them just a narrow picture of what you see as a life. You give them the experience. This is what I've experienced, but you go out there and find it for yourself.
Absolutely.
See, there are more, we talk about the branches on that tree every day, in every podcast. It's there's so many different avenues which you probably can't see from that position. So if you probably, go out and explore and understand that there are ample of opportunities or ample options, and
just like you brought up this, for example, if a student is in a clear headset, has a beautiful family support, friend support, that person is already going to be confident. And he brings that confidence, or she brings that confidence here. What's going to happen? She's going to be confident when she finds a job. She'll be confident doing her assessments. She'll be confident on if anything comes up. For example, universities, colleges have a lot of activities for students. A lot of career seminars. They will be participating, doing things, being a student rep. How great is that? Exactly. And that's when, for example, there are organizations like CISA. They could be part of it. They could be student reps and doing, something like, for example, policy making things. They might be doing some workshop on that, because there are a lot of things they can do. And for example, even if we take example of Bijay Sapkoda, 2 times CISA's president. He's also a student like us, wasn't he? But because he worked on himself, that's where he is now.
Yeah.
So there's already a beautiful example,
Yeah.
you know, that even I feel very proud of him because
Yeah.
he's done so much,
Sure.
and now he's a leader in the community, in students,
Sure.
you know. So that's where we should be seeing it. So
Yeah.
there are opportunities, but first thing is to build that confidence, to like families support your children.
No,
you know?
absolutely.
And I really love what UTC is already doing, and so, you know, bridging the gap.
Yep. That's what we're striving to do. Is obviously we are a company, so we run on profit, for profit company, right? But what else can we do? That's always what we're discussing. You know, whenever we finish our regular day task, whenever we have time, we sit down, we talk about how else can we help out, you know, and therefore we try these different you know, content creation, or you know, meeting with different people, build, like I said, bridging those gap, and maybe probably we can instill some sort of confidence in some students, or you know, all of the students would be very, very, you know, happy that and satisfied with what we do. And I mean, a very intense conversation, I think, for the first, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. How long have we been going, Vikesh? Half an hour. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's move on to so tell me something about a neuro-linguistic program, if I pronounce that right.
Yeah, you did very well.
And what is this about? So I did a little bit of research. I don't know if the first thing that came up is the pseudoscience. So tell me about that. I'm sure you will reject that claim. It's not a pseudoscience, I believe, because you are a part of it, I believe, or you know, you subscribe to it. Again, I keep on for neuro-linguistic program. Is that correct?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
So what is it exactly, and how does it help people, like in general?
Okay, so neuro-linguistic programming is just a part of a neuroscience. Okay, it's nothing more. It's just everything based on research.
Right.
So some people claim it's pseudoscience.
I saw that. I mean, I'll clear that. The source was Wikipedia. So so please, let's not trust that.
So the thing is, with neuro-linguistic programming, all it means is, in a simple way, is, for example, you know how people like affirmation?
Yeah.
Like, I'm beautiful, I'm bold, I can do this. What happens? In a few days, you feel that.
Yeah.
That's what neuro-linguistic programming is.
Oh, wow.
Easy as that.
So making affirmations and then translating it to manifestation, or what do you reckon?
That's just a little example for you to understand.
Sure.
So now we'll further dissect. So it's about how you address things, like how you talk, what your self-talk is, how you represent yourself. And the same thing, installing it as a belief system in your mind, and working on your subconscious. So that's what neuro-linguistic programming is, in short. So with this, how it helps is, that's a very good question. How it helps is, you sit down and you can actually look at your patterns. What are the words I'm using? You know, what are the words I am using to address somebody else or dealing with situation? What are my actions? You know, and what are the strategies I'm placing on? So you go and you read the patterns and you come up with something, pattern reading. And then you just go sit down what you want. You just measure them. Is this something that I want and it's serving me well? Remember, the beliefs are not going to always be there for you, and they're going to be like, you know, for example, we talked about blueprint. What are blueprints? Belief systems.
Yes, it is.
So now we sit down here and we shred the beliefs that we don't need, and we install the beliefs that we need. That's exactly what we're doing. For example, if I say I'm confident, somewhere it takes about 30 days, around 29 to 30 days. It just gets in your mind and you feel confident. For example, a baby is brushing the teeth. It's going to cry, you know, make all the screams and, you know, take like, you know, just get all that tension.
Throw a little bit of tantrum.
A lot of tantrum. Not little, actually
a lot of tantrums,
so, but for us, if we don't brush the teeth, how do we feel?
No, absolutely.
You know, so we feel like something is missing and we don't feel confident. You know, we feel like, oh, I can't eat the food. You know, all those kind of things. So when did we learn that? Long time ago, but it still serves us. So we think it's a good habit. But it took a while to turn it to habit. So it's a repetition, it's a pattern formed. So this pattern, just like initially it's on your conscious brain, so it's really hard, you know, we are trying to, you know, the brain is trying to push away, I don't want, but then slowly, because we keep on doing it, slowly it gets instilled, you know. So there is something called critical factor that divides conscious brain and unconscious brain. So once it passes through that critical factor, it goes into unconscious brain, and you know, like how it has a little like, you know, story somewhere, and then it goes and sits on that stories, and rest of the life you'll just be comfortable doing it. You wouldn't feel it's, you know, painful or it's irritating or anything like how the child would feel. Now you feel like it's part of you. It's exactly you that represents you. So this is all.
It also becomes, I think, a part of your personality as well.
Exactly, it is you. So if you say, who is Shahil, then in actions, if we say, you will be like, I brush my teeth, I have my shower, you know, I go and like, you know, have my cup of coffee, you know, I do this, and then I go to bed. So this is Shahil actually in terms of work, and you have a lot of patterns there, and these patterns repeat every single day. So this is what neuro-linguistic will all lie around.
So if you work on, say, good patterns or say positive patterns, then what you are saying is eventually it will manifest in your personality.
Yeah, you will become that.
Exactly.
Like who is Shahil?
Yeah.
Shahil is a person that gets up and has shower, brushes his teeth, you know, gets like, you know, does his exercises, morning rituals, whatever you have in place, goes to office, does like massive good works at office, comes home, you know, has his own time, me time, and then does all this stuff that he has to do before he goes, and he goes to bed being grateful. So what is this? Sahil is actually the complete package of the thing that he does. So that is what, so this is how you would see Sahil in terms of NLP.
And what about, so I would really want your take on this. I really get confused about this idea of like, you know, positive affirmations, for example. And I don't know if that's the correct word, but being a self-critique, for example, like also trying to address your, say, for example, shortcomings. And then there is negative self-talk as well, where you are like really, you know, bashing yourself, victimizing and all of that, like you're bad, you're useless and all of that. So what do you think about, what is the real difference between, I believe there's a very thin line between being a self-critic and being a you know, negatively self-talking person, I believe. So negative self-talk and you know, being a critique, for example, is acknowledging your shortcomings as well, so that you can work on it and become better. So how do you differentiate that, and how do you work through that?
It's a very, very beautiful question. You know, it's really nice. Look, we have to understand is, you know, for example, what does our lungs do? They just filter, you know, air and then make sure that you're oxygenated and deoxygenated. That's the job. Does it say it is a bad air or like, you know, not bad air, I'm not taking this, I'm taking this? No, it just, you know, whatever is available, it just, you know, gets in and then, you know, does its job. Similar like that, what does the brain do? Brain just gives you thoughts, you know, just fires up all the ideas and thoughts, and could be anything. And these have a lot of influences. For example, your hormones, you know, for example, there's a lot of genes and what you have it stored. So these are the things that are going to affect. But now here we come, conscious thoughts, conscious decisions. So we give the meaning to those thoughts, and then they become positive and negative.
Right.
So then now you choose, for example, you are sitting in a meeting, you know, it's a brainstorming meeting where you have to come up with creative, like, you know, ideas, like, you know, do critical thinking, think out of the box. You need those kind of thoughts, don't you? You need to be thinking where it is faulty, so that if there's a problem, you come up with a solution.
Sure.
You know, there would be time where you'd be
Are you uncomfortable with that?
Okay. There would be a time where you would be like, for example, you're gaining some weight. And you're just like, you know, looks like something out of the order. So the brain would come up with a lot of things. The brain will be like, oh, you're comfortable. That's great. Or they were like, no, I'm actually gaining something, like, you know, some weight, and I need to be like, you know, make sure like everything's okay, so that my cholesterol, so all your health things is all up to date. But the brain does not decide what is good or bad. It's just going to fire up with the things, and we give the meaning, and you choose depending upon your situation. It's like
you is the consciousness in
consciousness within you. So you pick depending upon your circumstances. Like 10% of body fat is okay. So I am happy with this. Then you are happy. Is there a problem? No problem. But when it's like, okay, it's going more than that, or like this is my goals, or this is like my health goal, and it doesn't fit in that, you go and you work on it.
Yeah.
So similar like that, I think it's good to have that nature, and also you need to know when it is going out of the line, and you need to bring yourself back. So when you have those kind of thoughts, have a look on where your patterns are going. For example, like when I when I have stress, I have stress eating habits.
Okay.
I don't think I just eat.
Okay.
I don't even know how I digest all of this, but I keep on eating whatever is available.
It's so funny. There's a lot of people tell me about stress eating. I'm completely the opposite. When I'm stressed, I don't eat anything. I can't eat anything. I lose my entire appetite, taste, whatever. I don't want anything. So that's what happens to me, I think. And it's funny how it works for me. I think it works for me, but that's a good thing, better than I believe. Stress eating. I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting how you talked about affirmations and patterns. I think that is really, and I've tried this. It's like I think three years back, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts as well, when I was like going through a patch where I felt that I didn't have any control whatsoever in my life. Like things were just happening and I was reacting rather than proacting, or being proactive to situations. And then I talked about this, about working on controllables to create a pattern, like you said, and I think I can really link that here. Is what are the things I can really do today? Like right now, I want to go to Europe, and like I want to go to some Tibetan monastery and like meditate for 1 month. I can't do that. That's outside of my control. But can I try and wake up a little early and have a little bit of morning routine? I can do it from tomorrow. It's just a matter of having that I don't know what's the word.
It's more like thinking, is that the thing that you need? You need it, you go and do it.
Yes, exactly. So having that I believe determination would be a very close word, is like and putting that in action, like really. So
taking that massive action.
Yes,
that's when you're
yes, exactly. And when I started doing that, I felt I can also exaggerate to say that it changed my life, but I wouldn't even feel that would be an exaggeration, because it really did change my life. And having those little routines of the controllables, which I could do today. I talked about looking at my finances, for example, and like every fortnight I sit down and look at my finances, what's happening, what's not happening, and a lot of other things. I think that is really,
it relates to everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere you have a certain pattern: health, relationship, family, friends, intimate relationships, your relationship with yourself, finances, career, education. Everything has a pattern. Like basically we are like material mirror patterns.
Yes, we are.
We act in a pattern. We do everything in a pattern.
We're talking about thoughts, but even if you look at the anatomy, or even science to the atomic level, it's all patterns, right? Exactly. It's all patterns. So definitely, yeah.
So, when people, for example, I asked my mom and my sisters to meditate, and what answer I got? I was like, there's so many thoughts. It just, I get distracted. They get so many thoughts, and I get so uncomfortable, and I get restless. That's what they were saying. And then, end of the day, that's all it's about. You realizing that your job of your mind is to fire thoughts, is going to fire thoughts.
Yes.
Why are you giving meaning and being reactive? That's the whole point of being meditative.
I think that's a great segue to the point of talking about meditation. I really wanted to talk about this. I think, do you practice regularly? You do, right? And so I asked this question to one of our previous guests as well, and I would also want your take on this. Is now it's become very popular, but I think a few years back it was still brushed aside as pseudoscience, right? So most of the people would say, again, the pseudoscience school would say that it does not bring any any concrete value to one's life. It's just people are selling this and all of that. It'll probably calm you a little bit, but I mean that's pretty much it. You could probably take medical advice, and I believe in that as well. You should take medical advice as well at times when it goes a point, beyond a point of control. But like I said, I have been doing that, and I've seen like positive changes in myself and some concrete results as well. I talked about sleep pattern, for example, eating pattern, handling thoughts, for example, handling stress and all of those things.
Especially.
Clarity. Emotional intelligence is what I mean, I can't tell that I'm intelligent person, but the quotient of emotional intelligence in yourself is being able to understand other people's emotions better. I think that has definitely grown, I should say. I mean, there's still a long way to go. It's a never-ending process. You keep learning and you keep growing. But I could definitely see some concrete results out of it. And I know for now, I don't know if I can prove it scientifically though, but I know that, and nowadays even the science have started to acknowledge all of that as well. Yeah, going on and as well. So what I wanted to know from you is how does it like really help? For example, there's a person who is going through a huge amount of mental pressure and all of that, and is all over the place, and they cannot, they're not able to think how they want to move forward. And if, for example, we give them meditation, how do you think it would help them?
Initially, what I would say is first we need to know the basic idea, which is like you need to know that mind will definitely create thought.
Yep.
And when we give meaning, it becomes sometimes very painful. We get emotionally attached to those ideas. That's when you get very fearful, painful, like all the negative emotions, hurt, anger, rage, guilt, shame. Feeling of not worthiness, jealousy, everything. Where did they come from? They just came from somewhere in the head, So brain was just firing up ideas depending upon your hormones. Sometimes you're stressed, especially for females. You have all the ups and goes, because your hormones are just here and there, and you have all your things. And for men, there will be other sort of things, So all these things are, basic factors that will influence the way you think. And that's one of the things that you need to educate. Now, for example, someone's had that education. So next stage would be, if you want to practice meditation, would be more like sit down, just feel, it's not going to be a very easy job.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. Like I told my mom and sister, instead I was like, oh, it's this, I'm not going to do it. It's too much. I don't want to think, but just it makes him think more. It's so uncomfortable. I get restless. Instead, some people get really angry and and because these all things are playing up. All you have to do is, it takes that time. Give yourself time. Like we say,
observe.
All you have to do is observe. Take your time, because because you are doing on day 1, day 2, day 3, or might take a week or 2. Does not mean you will be able to just go and just be there and just observe nicely. No, it's not going to be a comfortable journey at all.
Surely not.
Especially when you have this all chaotic life going on. That's really hard. But what you have to do is, you just need to understand is the good things are on the way. Just be hopeful. Have that hope and faith on yourself. Sit down in a nice and quiet place and just close your eyes and just be there. With time, slowly, don't react, don't give emotions to it, because if you don't give emotions to those are just an idea or thoughts, and they will just pass away. Like you said, being observing, being observant. So to be observant, it takes that practice.
It does.
So slowly, in a week or 2, you'll be more comfortable, and those things will have less.
And there are
power
techniques
on you.
as well. I believe there are techniques as well. Well, different
of
school of. I think meditation has got so many schools and so many avenues.
Meditation is such a big thing, to be honest. I come from a yogic family.
Yep.
So, I used to be taught meditation when I was very little. I think when I remember.
Well, your last name is Yogi, so that works for you, I guess.
Not only works, it's actually, that's what I come from. My grandfather's dad, he was a proper yogi. How they have got those big earrings and with that saffron colored dress. So I'm basically from Dang.
Wow.
So we have their temple, Gorakhnath temple. Also in Kathmandu, there is Mrigastali, I think. There is this whole thing about Gorakhnath and that culture. So that's where I come from, and they practice it very seriously. And so I have seen, and I have experienced meditation, but I wouldn't say I've done in those level of unlocking your chakras and doing all those high things. I guess I think there are high things for me.
No,
very
absolutely.
exciting.
Absolutely.
But I have seen people doing it within my own family, and also a lot of my family members, they are also into it. For example, Hindu Vidyapit, one of the school that provides education based on Hindu philosophy. Like for some of my family members, they are also running those schools, and I also studied in those one of those schools. So there we had meditation classes, we had cultural events, we had sessions for Gita. So all these things were quite mixed. That's when I kind of already knew about meditation. But there are a lot of ways to do meditation, a lot of ways to do yogas as well, because meditation is just a part.
Obviously. Yoga is the most misused word, I feel.
Yoga is like really misused.
Like, do this and that's yoga. No, that's not.
No,
that's asana.
like I remember like a couple of my friends when we were having chat, and I was like, what do you think about doing yoga and stuff? And they were like, it's just this stretch that you do for your body.
Absolutely.
And then with yoga, like I did see like, practicing hot yoga is one of the main ones that my family ancestors did. So they were like, even like I think that was my great-grandfather, he used to go to India. I can't remember which university it was, and he used to teach those yogas and stuff, and I think he's got some books as well written for those kind of yogas.
Is it written himself?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like if you go on one of the universities, I can't remember, I have to ask my grandparents, but it's like there are...
Do you have those books with you, no?
No, like...
You should get those, come on.
Like I had no clue. I found these when I came here.
Okay.
So...
Thank you, Vikesh. No, I mean, very...
But I did ask one of my grandfather's brothers when he was visiting here, and I asked him a few things about yoga, and that's it, like completely, it's about you being connected with yourself, and you are connecting everything around you with yourself. So which basically, in a way, meditation is also a way to do so.
Sure. No, I mean, I believe that that would really be helpful for a lot of people to, when they're feeling like, okay, what is the way out? Then that could really center you. I wouldn't, because I want to, in this, especially in this field of spirituality and meditation, whatever I tell, I want to be very careful until I myself do not experience it. I wouldn't want to say it, because there's a lot of things written in the books, and you talked about chakras and everything. When you read a certain book, I recently read an autobiography of a yogi, that's by, that's one of the very famous yoga books in around the world, and I believe even who is Apple CEO? Who was Apple CEO?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. He used to subscribe to that book as well, and it tells about like where you can reach, in terms of like opening up those other realms and all of that. It sounds like it's straight out of a science fiction movie, but it's written and it's told with so much of conviction. You want to believe it. Right? You want to believe it, and that's how you get drawn into it.
You wouldn't even, like, for example, for me, what happened was there was a time when I was a child, I used to hear these people like, I don't remember exactly terminals. They said like, okay, this person is passing at this time. So you all are invited to go visit him. So before this time, like, so that
is that a Mahasamadhi situation or something?
Mahasamadhi situation. So there will be like Samadhi situation. So I grew up with that culture. And then like for me, it was more like normal. But then when I came here, and especially I would go out, make friends, and sometimes these things will come up, they would all be like, oh, what is this? I do believe that there's a lot of research that needs to be done, because remember that our culture had been stolen as well, because even though now we have separated countries like India, we have like Nepal, but all those were once upon a time all one, and then we practiced the same thing, and a lot of the universities were destroyed, and like all different kings ruled over, and then that's when we lost a lot of our references.
Sure.
But I think there is something, and then I think we as current generation, we do have some some sort of responsibility to work on that as well. For example, people just put anything on Wikipedia, like you said, it's pseudoscience, meditation is this, but now science is coming with the facts that this also can, even with hypnosis, it's the same thing. Like, I think it was in France or somewhere that they did a surgery just hypnotizing someone, and they did a surgery.
Wow.
So it was successful surgery.
Wow.
So there are a lot of things. We still got a lot to investigate, and these all come already from our ancient practices in Hindu, like Hindu culture. So, or we call it Sanatan Dharma.
Sanatan Dharma,
Yeah.
So no, most of the idea I get is like science is more towards
getting facts
of the external stuff, but we've done a lot of research on things around us,
but within us
also within us in terms of body, yes,
yeah.
But we've not done too much research on the consciousness itself, who is like viewing everything, who is like observing everything. And I again, because you are here in this podcast today, and thank you. I really wanted to explore this a little further, so therefore, I mean, I got really valuable insight. But I really want to be really careful about when I talk about these things, because first of all, I'm not an expert, right? I've just started practicing it. I know it keeps you centered. Even now, Netflix got Headspace, a program where you can meditate with that, and it's got an app as well, Headspace app, and definitely it has got that mass appeal, if you like, to just, and they teach you just like basic meditation techniques to just keep you centered, I believe.
What we are missing here is like, even for a lot of students, it's very important that end of the day, everything starts with you and everything finishes with you, and all meditation does is brings you back.
Yeah.
That's the basics.
Beautiful. I think you put it beautifully. That's absolutely. I think, put that on a T-shirt and we could like sell. Yeah.
That's what meditation is for, and that's what life is meant to be. End of the day, like you want to go out there, be confident, master in any skill. What do you have to do? You have to become focused on yourself. You look after your health. You look after your finances. You look after your career, relationships, everything. So everything starts with you, and this meditation is what it does. It just brings you back. And lets you see yourself. And that's when people, when they don't have clarity and everything, they sit down and they get triggered a lot of the time, because there's lots of ideas, thoughts, belief system firing. And you kind of react to it. But then with patience, once you keep on practicing, now you will know that when you are in the space where you need to make big decisions in your life, you sit down, you meditate, and that's when you have a clarity and you know exactly what you want to do. But definitely there's a lot of things that science needs to do, or even like, for us, what I say, especially for us people, where we come from such a great, like, land where, meditation is started in a way, like, I think it's one of our responsibilities to do that too. And I'm glad you're already practicing.
Well, I'm trying, I should say. But, well, I think we've gone over an hour, so I will try and bring it to the end. And I'd really want to do a season part 2 with you, maybe.
Of course.
Episode 2, a continuation part 2, maybe. But what I really liked about today's conversation is really trying to understand what kind of responses you saw to different triggers around you, and how you can probably choose the right response if you are more centered, I think. And one of the gentlemen in previous podcast also talked about that, is you always have choices, and then if you are more centered and you're more calm, if I may use that word, then you'll be able to make better choices, which will help you. But when you are like running wild in your head, then you're bound to make certain decisions which wouldn't suit you well.
There's one more mantra that I love.
Okay,
I think
what
this
is
is
it?
from Tony Robbins. He says, where focus flows, your energy flows.
Yes, okay.
And exactly that's going to happen. If you just think of, for example, you have to take a decision, but you are just thinking something else. For example, you have your personal issues going on, or health issues, you can't take a good decision. It's not saying that you won't be able to, it's just saying that something else is bothering you, and it's like, just scratching your back. Hey, I'm here. So your total attention is not going there. So here is where meditation, or any sort of like, though, like for example, NLP does a great job here. So it helps you come back to your body, helps you, be there, be focused on yourself, and then you have a clarity.
Even medical advice as well. I mean, we're talking about meditation and spirituality, but I believe there are medical professionals who deal with psychology and psychiatry. I think there are two different things. And Yeah, I mean, you should really take all the help that is available. That's what I believe in, and not just being focused in one and come out of, if you are in a hole, try and find every avenues which is present there to work. And I also, one of my approach is to look at all of this is, and I don't know, if it makes sense, but I'm very inclined towards astronomy as well. So it's like looking at the stars, understanding stars and the distance and the planets, and also evolution and when we started, how we evolved. And when you look at that grand timeline, and when we talk about societal pressures and societal blueprints, and we're investing our entire, I would call it an opportunity of 70 to 80 years to live this, like really. Exactly. If you look at this entire timeline, 70, 80 years on average is nothing. It's just a blip on the radar, nothing else.
We are just stardust.
That's it, right? And when I look at that, and then, do I want to waste that in like some hole, dark hole, or maybe not? I want to express myself fully, and I want to just, whatever opportunities I've got, which is very grateful, I get to experience all of this. My consciousness gets to experience all of this for this short period of time. It's very short. So do I want to like spend, even a single minute, for example, in a dark hole, or do I want to explore, keep learning, express myself, and take full advantage of this opportunity to understand how beautiful this existence is? So sometimes I think it from that way, and that really gives me a lot of energy to just go out there and do things and brush aside all of those things. And
absolutely. So there is in NLP we have a model, so we kind of like see the patterns, and also we have models that we work on. So one of the model that helps you to connect with yourself is actually based on something like this. That's where what you do is you stand above you, and you see the whole entire universe. You see, how people, or not only people, as a whole, living and non-living, how close we are, and how perfect we are. And how we are just going and blending with each other and living together. And how end of the day all we care about is we are. Just a stardust, definitely we are going to, but then we're also a piece of love. We are made of love, and we give love, and we just give that. So this model actually, helps you to, connect and, connect with yourself and also with the whole universe. And this is one of the way where you kind of, calm down and everything, and you just feel like, oh, this person is exactly like me. Because a lot of people, what I've heard, like not only heard, it's like seen is, they're like, oh my God, he's a CEO, how can I talk to him? Oh my God, that person is this, how can I talk to this? Or maybe even if I talk to someone who does this sort of stuff, I'm going to lose my reputation. Like, I'll rise above that. Everybody's in the same. Everybody has got same thing to do. Everybody has their own, life challenges, likes, dislikes. They'll always have a thing. So one of the core way to have a confidence build is also this, that you have to stand above your circumstances, fly above your body, and see that we all are same.
Well, I feel validated that whatever I thought had some academic backing as well. That's great. I mean, Sunayana, thank you for doing this. I think it was wonderful, wonderful 1 hour. I mean, when Bikesh was showing me timestamps, I was like, okay, really? 1 hour? I mean, because like it's really flowing really. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as well. And we'll do this again. And at the end of every podcast, we do a fist bump. So let's do that. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Sunayana. And
my pleasure. Thanks so much.
And any last words you want to say to all our viewers, maybe? Or
absolutely. So what I want to say is, end of the day, all it matters is you. Everything starts with you. So, ask for help, because all matters is you. Go out there, explore the world, live up, get those experiences, and also, especially to those students who are looking for a pathway to do something, I think UTC is a good place to come and do it, because already says thought consultant, so they are very thoughtful. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunayana. Well, I mean, that was not scripted at all. Let me tell you that. Thank you, Sunayana. You said that from your heart, and I we really do appreciate that. And thank you for coming and giving such insightful. I learned a lot in this 1 hour conversation today, and I'm going to take home a lot of valuable insight to a lot of different things. And We had fun. Thank you, Bikesh, for doing this, our creative head, and organizing all of this. And thank you everybody for watching again. And we'll keep on doing this for a good amount of time. We're having so much fun. Thank you for all your feedback, and we're really happy that you're listening to this and getting some sort of feedback. Sometimes negative, positive, doesn't matter, but we really appreciate your feedback. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Sunayana, for being here, and
My
see you
pleasure.
next on the next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.